I put up videos in the past talking about so-called conspiracy theories. I mean, these conspiracy theories are real. I also get a lot deeper than others, which is why so many of my videos and my channels have been shut down. I think I'm going to keep this channel separate from ones I've done in the past, just to keep the trolls and the attackers off it, at least for a while. Although soon, if I put up enough videos and get enough subscribers, I'm definitely going to start attracting a lot of negative attention. People that do not want the truth told. There's other people that do this, like Alex Jones and many others, put out videos about it, but I get a lot deeper than they do. And I also get more into the spiritual side of things, and that's a side that most people don't want to believe in. There's a massive campaign that try to make you not believe in the spiritual, as well as the fact that a lot of people just don't have a spiritual mind. They're not capable of understanding these things, and they get disturbed when you start talking about spiritual things. And spiritual things aren't necessarily the same thing as religion. Religion is something for the mass. There's things about Christianity that seems to be true, other things about it that don't seem to be. And the reason is that this world, this three-dimensional world, is kind of the bottom of the totem pole. It's kind of a dark, heavy realm, and it's kind of a negative place. It's like the Bible calls the god of this world Satan, you know. And Jesus said his kingdom was not of this world. Now, what's all the truth behind all that? What does all this mean? Well, there is a real God. I mean, if you do really spiritual things and do a lot of meditation for long periods of time, you begin to start to become aware of this higher realm, a higher God, the true God up there. But his rays don't penetrate very well down into this deep, dark, often cruel, ugly world. There's beauty here, there's good things here, but there's a lot of darkness. More darkness than there. Even the good things like religion are tainted in this world. You know, the religions often become more interested in money and power. They get more into dogma than spirituality. Dogma is like a set of rituals, okay, that are usually human-made, not necessarily coming down from God or from a higher source. And most religious people get more hung up on the ritual than they do with the actual spirituality. You see, this is something that's kind of tripped me up for a while, because, you know, I was born in a Christian church and wanted to believe in Jesus, but I see all the hypocrisies. I see a lot of the false preachers. I see a lot of the false teachings. The teachings of Christ and the apostles apparently have been twisted and manipulated in many ways. And so it's difficult to get to the truth. And some of this has been done deliberately, and some of it's just ignorance, and some of it's just the nature of this dark realm. It's just the way it works out. So it's difficult to get to the bottom of some of these things. So I'll be putting up a few videos from time to time. I in the past I thought, well, I put up enough, I'm not going to do any more. It brings a lot of heat down on me. And like I said, so I start getting into the spiritual side of things, and like I said, there's a massive campaign to convince you there's no spiritual, you know, almost all modern television and literature, you know, it tries to tell you there's no spirituality, unless they want to push a religious viewpoint with it, which is a mixed message. Even like the Harry Potter books, you know, Dumbledore, the highest, most powerful wizard, was throwing spiritual power left and right. They want to tell you there's no other side, you know. I mean, he tells Harry Potter all these things that seem to show the other side are just illusions or some other whatever it is. They don't want you to believe that there's another side. In spite of that, there's tremendous evidence of it, and I get into that. Well, I have gotten into it many times before. I don't know if I want to prove that now. The biggest proof is, I would say, these things they call near-death experiences, NDEs. I prefer to call them return-to-life experiences. Near-death experience, in my opinion, is like, you know, you almost get hit by a train and you step out of the way at the last minute. That's a near-death experience. You came close to dying, but your heart never stopped beating, your brain never stopped functioning. No, these, what they call near-death experiences, the brain did stop functioning, the heart did stop. 8 seconds after your heart stops beating, and there's no oxygen in your brain, and neurons firing are what cause the brain to operate, and there's no oxygen. The brain is not doing anything yet. These visions continue. And there's no medical, biological, three-dimensional, physical explanation for this. I remember years ago, back in the 80s, I have always been kind of a computer nerd, among other things, as they were saying, well, computers operate on these on-off switches they call flip-flops, which are similar to neurons in the brain, which are like on-off switches. And they used to believe that if you got enough of these flip-flops, enough of these on-off switches, they would all of a sudden become magically self-aware and conscious. And a lot of sci-fi movies have been created along those lines, like the Terminator. One of the first ones was Star Trek. The M5 computer kind of became self-aware and decided to take over and start killing other ships. And one of the most famous examples, the HAL 9000, became self-aware and started, computers want to turn against their creators, kind of thing. It was a fear that people had, but it's never happened yet, and it never will. However, it is possible that spirits can possess a computer, like they can possess a lot of things. And that's kind of getting into another offshoot that I'm not going to get into right now, I don't think. But there is a spiritual side to things. They used to have a branch of science they called parapsychology, where there were actual scientists who were studying these things. And they don't get any funding there. Parapsychology has been pretty much dried up. They don't get any funding. Then nobody wants to give these people any money. They want to put money into making more money. And see, that's another thing I'm going to get into. Like, these high-level Masons, Masonry's got multiple levels. The low-level Masons are not aware they're involved with something negative. They're told they're part of a benevolent thing. And then, of course, then you start getting into something very difficult to talk about is the Jewish side of this thing. There's a lot of people that talk about Jews are responsible for all these things. Well, most Jews, just like most Masons, are not aware of these secret societies and these dark conspiracies. It's not until you get into the higher levels, the more dark, more sinister levels of these things. And Masonry has like 360 levels, I've heard. And they tell you it's 33 levels is the top. No, 33. 33rd is nowhere near the top. And they push religion because religion is being used to sheepalize and dumb down society. You have religions pushing warmongers and their dark agendas. Whereas the original Christians, the first 3 centuries, were not sword warriors. They were prayer warriors. And some of them even went to their death because they refused to be sword warriors. But there were some Roman governors that let them get away with being prayer warriors. Interesting, coincidentally enough, during these 300 years where Christians were prayer warriors instead of sword warriors, was the most peaceful time in recorded history. They call that the Pax Romana. There were a few skirmishes here and there, but there were virtually no out-and-out wars going on during that time. And then, after that, Constantine turned Christianity into a state religion. That's why they had separation of church and state in this country. As a state religion, Christianity became part of the Roman Empire, became part of the Roman state. And Christianity then became a materialistic and a militant religion, and has been ever since. And they push warmongering. And Christians are in denial of this, but America, the U.S., has committed more war crimes than anyone other than possibly the communists. Well, the communists have killed a lot of their own people, whereas Americans kill a lot of other people's. And most Americans are in denial, don't want to even hear about all the war crimes that the U.S. has committed against other people, the firebombing of other nations, deliberately targeting civilian targets. This is not what I would call spiritual behavior, but it's amazing how many Christians seem to just be cool with this kind of behavior. Here we go. You hear that? How do they know I'm doing this? Interesting. You talk about aliens, you freak people out. But anyway, there appear to be good aliens and bad aliens, or at least which and it's hard to know what's the difference between the aliens, and angels, and demons, or if they're one and the same. I don't think they're one and the same. I think there's several different types of aliens, different types of angels, different types of demons, and different. So I think that it's like the real world. There's many species out there around, many different types. But anyway, the dark aliens, the demons, and and these high-level Masons, these Masonic, Satanic, Illuminati families, they have realized that the fourth dimension, okay, has power. But the really spiritual people realize in order to reach the fifth rung of the ladder, you have to take your foot off the third. And you notice all the most spiritual people in the world, like Buddha, the prophets of the Bible versus the patriarchs. The patriarchs had fourth dimensional energy, which they used to obtain more third dimensional power and wealth. Whereas the prophets gave up on the third dimension altogether. Like Christ gave up on the third dimension. The prophets were not interested in getting married and having sex. They weren't interested in getting rich. They weren't interested in materialistic power. Where the patriarchs wanted sex. They wanted lots of wives. Solomon had 1,000 wives, They wanted sex. They wanted material wealth and power. And these Masonic families and the evil aliens, they have developed some fourth dimensional power. So they can use this, and this is like the dark side of the occult. They use to manipulate things to get more third dimensional power. And they don't realize there's a better realm up there, the fifth dimension. But in order to reach the fifth dimension, you've got to take your foot off the third rung of the ladder. You're climbing a ladder, you got to take your foot off the third rung in order to get to the fifth rung. And they don't understand that. They develop some understanding, but not enough to realize there's a better realm than this third dimensional materialistic existence, which you can't take it with you anyway when you die, and you're going to die. It's like these Masons, they're looking for a higher level. They're looking for eternal life, and they're looking for the Philosopher's Stone, not just to make lead into gold, but they're looking for a way to extend their life forever. There's a show they had on a while ago called Psi Factor, and the last show of the third season, I believe it was, they put the truth out in their videos and their TV shows, but they always mix it. So they had the guy, the man in the iron mask, which was not. The show is about Baron Rothschild, okay, the head of the Illuminati. He's the one who's really controlling these secret societies. But they twisted it and said it was the man in the iron mask. The man in the iron mask was probably the true heir of the throne in France, and they play cuckoo bird, or cowbird, where they'll lay their eggs in other people's nests and then they'll kill the real heirs. And I guess rather than just killing this guy, they decided to be more cruel, to torture him and put him in an iron mask for 40 years, or whatever it was. But he wasn't Baron Rothschild. They're twisting it. But the guy in the Psi Factor show was Baron Rothschild, okay, and it's always one guy. They always like, here you got another shooting just happened. It's always one guy. It's never an organization. All these TV shows, movies, and like Moonraker, wanted to poison all the people and just create this master race. But it was just one guy. It's never an organization. Nope, it's always one guy. But anyway, Baron Rothschild in this thing, they didn't tell you was Baron Rothschild. He wanted eternal life, and of course they had him get killed in the Psi Factor. In real life, he didn't get killed. He will die, though. But they give you clues. In these sci-fi movies and TV shows, they give you clues of what's really going on, what they're really doing. But they always mix lies in with the truth to try to confuse you, because they know the truth leaks out. And so they figure the best way to keep too much truth to get out is just put out a whole bunch of half-true stories. If it was completely made-up stories, nobody would believe it. So they got to put some truth in it. So there's always some truth in these sci-fi books, TV shows, movies, magazines, and even the comic books. There's some truth. It's not all truth, but there's some truth in it.